We're going to ask ourselves the question, how can I use number bonds to add numbers with regrouping? Number bonds can be used with both addition problems that don't need any regrouping and those that do require regrouping. We will look at some examples that show regrouping with ones and tens. Remember, when using number bonds, we want to try to use friendly numbers or find friendly numbers like 10 and 100. This will help us with our mental math skills. If I gave the problem 7 plus 9, now I know that you already probably know that that is 16. But if we were going to try to use number bonds to solve this problem so that we could do mental math a little bit quicker, we could find a number bond for 9 and create a 3 and a 6 as the parts for the whole number 9. And because we broke it down to 3 and 6, we know that if we group that 3 and 7 together, we get what? Exactly. We now have a 10, and we can just drop that 6 down, and we can do 10 plus 6 equals 16. What we did here was we took our 7 and 9. We looked for a friendly number, meaning a 10, and we broke the 9 and down to the 3 and the 6, took that 3 and put it with the 7 so that we could get a 10, leaving the part of 6 left over, giving us 16. All right, let's take that same problem, 7 plus 9, and let's look at another way that we can solve that using number bonds. Now, in the first example, I did 3 plus 6 when I broke my 9 down into parts. You may have looked at that 9 and thought, well, that's really close to a 10. I want to do it differently. And that is what's cool about number bonds, is there are lots of ways to do it. But maybe you want to break your 7 down and use the number bond 6 and 1, and then you see that, oh, I can put that 1 with my 9, and now I have a friendly number, which is a 10, and then I'll just take that 6 and add it to my 10 and get 16. Remember, the goal is to try to find groups of 10 or multiples of 10 whenever possible. You can see, hopefully, how this would help you to use mental math if you had to add 7 plus 9 and your teacher doesn't want you counting on your fingers anymore, right? So find a group of 10. Take that 1 away from the 7. Add it to your 9 and get 10. And then add the 6 down onto the 10 and you get 16. Let's look at another example. I give you the problem 8 plus 7. And remember, we don't want to count on our fingers. We want to use number bonds to solve this problem. And eventually solve it in our head using number bonds. Remember, I want to find a group of 10. I can use the 7 and figure out what I need to add to that to get a 10, or I can use the 8. I like the 8. I'm going to use the number bond 2 plus 5 gives me the whole number 7, because I see that an 8 and a 2 gives me a 10. So now I've taken away 2 from the 7 and I'm adding it to the 8, and I get that friendly number 10, and then I will add that 5 and get 15. Now we could also have done it trying to make a group of 10 using the 7 that was there. So what do we need to add to a 7 to get the friendly number 10? Right, we need a 3. So let's use 3 in a number bond with 8. And what's our other part to make our whole number 8? It's a 5. And I can see that that 3 and that 7 excuse me, is going to give me a 10. Just as a helpful note, because I'm going to be grouping that 3 with the 7, I'm just going to rearrange my 5 and 3, because remember that commutative property tells us we can do that. We'll link that 7 and 3 together. That gives us a lovely 10. And then we'll add our 5. And again, come up with the number 15. Let's use number bonds to solve problems that have greater values by making groups of 10. If I give you the problem 60 plus 80, you may already have a mental math strategy to solve this, but one possible way would be to look at that 80 and think, what can I add to that to get to 100? Because remember, we want to use friendly numbers of 10s, 100s, or multiples of those. Well, if I look at the 8, I know that if I add a 2 to an 8, I get 10. So I can add 20 to an 80 and get 100. So when I break my 60 down into its parts, I want 20 to be one of the parts. That leaves 40 as my other part. How did I know that? Well, I know that 2 and 4 give me 6, so 20 and 40 give me 60. Now I can link the 20 and 80 together, and what does that give us? Yeah, that great friendly number of 100. And of course we can't forget to add the 40 on. And now we have 100 plus 40 equals 140. If you were going to go back and do this the traditional way that you've learned and solve it vertically and added your 1s and your 10s, you would get 140, and you see that those match. But remember, our goal is to use number bonds to solve problems mentally using mental strategies. Now let's take a look at what this is going to look like with a little bit more difficult numbers. For example, I give you the problem 88 plus 23, and I say, please use number bonds to solve this problem, meaning I don't want you to do it vertically like we usually do. So you're going to have to look at that and think, oh gosh, I need 10s, 100s, or multiples of 10. And in this example, we're going to use a multiple of 10. I'm looking at that 88 thinking that is really close to 90. And 90 is a multiple of 10. What do I need to get to a 90? Well, we need a 2, don't we? So if we're going to get a 2 to add to that 88 to get a 90, we better make a number bond using 2 as one of the parts for the whole number 23. Well, if I take 2 away from 23, what does that leave us for the other part? A 21. So our number bond for 23 in this problem is going to be 2 and 21. Now if I link that 2 to the 88, remember 88 plus 2 gives us 90, doesn't it? So now we have 90 And remember that we said that 90 is a multiple of 10, because if I multiply 10 by 9, I get 90, don't I? And now we can add that 21. As you do this more and more and get more practice, you're going to be able to do this with no problem at all. We started this lesson by asking the question, how can we use number bonds to solve addition problems with regrouping? We practiced using the strategy of finding friendly numbers, tens, 100s, or multiples of tens and 100s, and regrouping our numbers into parts that give us those friendly numbers, and then adding them together using our mental strategies. Is there more than one way to do this? Absolutely. That's the beauty of this strategy. One person might do it one way, another person might do it the other, but if we all use number bonds to help solve addition with regrouping, we'll get faster, we'll have more fun, and we can challenge one another with it. You can practice this strategy on your own or with a friend or family member. See what you can do with it.